Sens Talk is proud to be powered by Ottawa Interlock Repair for the 2025-26 Sens season. For all your interlock needs, visit interlockrepair.com.
Sens win 2-0. Should be 3. Holy cow, Tim Stützle, what a goal that was to make it 3-0 there. Thank you. I don't know who's running the music. Perfect timing. Tim Stützle should have made it 3-0 there. We'll talk about that in the second part of this video where I kind of break things down in my studio, the Sens Talk studio. Shout out to that. But regardless, a big 2 points for your Ottawa Senators. They are now only 3 points out of the final wildcard spot. Linus Ullmark, what a bounce back performance for him. We'll talk about that later as well. My goodness, 23 saves. 10 of them probably could have went to the back of the net. He was fantastic. Jordan Spence also fantastic. And speaking of fantastic, that third line, so good. Michael Amadio with the game-winning goal. Shane Pinto with points on both the goals today. And Shabbat Shalom, baby, with the second goal, his second career shorthanded goal. So the Ottawa Senators bounced back after a real tough loss on Wednesday to the Montreal Canadiens with a big 2 points tonight against the Anaheim Ducks. They went duck hunting and they got the job done, baby. Let's take on the Sharks tomorrow. Go fishing, shark hunting, whatever the hell you would call it, and get another big 2 points to get right back into that playoff conversation. Again, just 3 points out by the end of this weekend. Could be sniffing the playoffs, baby. So with that, big 2 points for your Ottawa Senators, and I'll see you all back at the Sens Talk studio for a full breakdown of the game and some stuff about Steve Staios and what the Sens may do in the offseason. And most of all, ladies and gentlemen, the Ottawa Senators are getting their first round pick back. We got to talk about that, so I'll see you all in a few minutes. For now, enjoy some highlights from today's game. Come on, Tim! Hey! Oh, it's right there. Let's go! Woo! Let's go, Ollie! What a bounce back. What a bounce back. Thought just because I was at the game there was gonna be no danger flutes? Come on, Sens win 2-0. We're obviously gonna bring the danger flutes. Let's go, baby. Regardless if we started the video or not, the danger flutes had to be there somewhere, and here they are. And on that note, I just gotta say this right off the bat. You know, usually when I go to a game, I don't get to do a full analysis and break down the game, break down what happened with certain players in this game, and kind of paint the picture of what went down. I usually just kind of give my take at the arena, because by the time I get home, it's like 11:30, 12. I got, go to bed. I got work in the morning and stuff, right? It's just impossible to really sit down and spend some time breaking things down and taking a look at the numbers properly when you're at the game. So, a Saturday matinee game and a win, and I get to go home and, do a more in-depth portion of this video for you guys.
It's a beautiful day, ladies and gentlemen. It is a beautiful day. And like I just said, it's always a beautiful day when we're able to do the Danger Flutes. Is it not? The Danger Flutes, best theme song in sports. No doubt about that. And ladies and gentlemen, we got to hear it for sure today after a big 2 points and a 2-0 win over the Anaheim Ducks. We're going to talk about it in this video, or this part of the video anyways. Linus Ullmark, we already kind of mentioned it. What a game for him. And that Sens blue line as a whole, dominance. Holy cow, the block shots by the Ottawa Senators blue line today was just ridiculous. We'll talk about that later as well. And the Senators offense, they continue to generate and get looks, and they capitalized a couple times today, but frig, man, holy cow. They could have had 7-8 goals today. I'm not going to do 6-7. They had that meme at the CTC today. Can't do it anymore. 7 or 8 goals potentially Ottawa may have scored today, but they got the 2, and that's all they needed, so that's all that matters. So with that, the theme song for your Ottawa Senators is the best. There's no question about that. Now, I just want to take a quick time out and say thank you to Dylan Pocniak of Kyle Williams Sports and Entertainment for sponsoring Sens Talk. Go to www.dpre.ca to find out more today for the best real estate experience in the Ottawa-Gatineau community. Now, let's kind of jump into what went down. Let's break it down, and then I will talk about some interesting stats. But before the game, we heard some unfortunate news that Nick Jensen will be out for at least the weekend, so he's out for today's game, and he will be out tomorrow as well against the San Jose Sharks in Ottawa. So Dennis Gilbert was called up, and Lassie Thompson as well as the 7th defenseman. Gilbert played this game, had the second most blocks on the Ottawa Senators today, by the way. He actually looked pretty decent, and again, I saw a lot of, oh no, we're done. Well, Gilbert is a guy with a lot of NHL experience, and you saw that in full display today against the Ducks, and hopefully that can continue tomorrow against the Sharks, because again, that third pairing and the defensive play as a whole, pretty steady today. There were some good looks that Ullmark had to stop, no doubt about that. A few too many, I would say, but overall, the Senators did their job out front, and Ullmark did his job in the crease. So let's get into the first period of play real quick. And Ottawa and the Ducks, really chippy affair. No one should be shocked about that, obviously, when, you know, you're dealing with a Saturday afternoon game. The Sens would have 2 power plays in that first period, would not score on either of them, while the Anaheim Ducks also had a power play and did not score on that one. You know, Fogle was absolutely robbed on one of those power plays, by the way. Warren Fogle continues to look really great. Even on that fourth line, he has so much speed. It's so noticeable, especially in person. It's really cool to see him for the first time in person today with the Ottawa Senators anyways. And again, he brings a different element to this team, especially when it comes to speed. The Senators have speed, no doubt about that. But in that bottom 6, you know, they have speed, but it's a little more stagnant compared to that top 6. And he certainly brings that element to that bottom 6. And if he can start putting in some power play goals, what a player we got here, ladies and gentlemen. But again, the goals should drop as long as the looks continue to come. And Warren Fogle continues to get some good looks. Ullmark, after that big save, though, with a huge save on Leo Carlsson. Jordan Spence did a great job on that opportunity as well to kind of push Carlsson off the puck there. It made Ullmark's job a little bit easier. But on Spence, we'll talk about him later. Holy cow, what a game he had. Nearly 23 minutes of ice time. He has really stepped up ever since Jake Sanderson got hurt last week. So let's get into the second period of play. And this is where the Ottawa Senators would start capitalizing on their chances. It's a 2-on-1. It's Pinto to Ammo, and the Ottawa Senators strike first. It's a me, Amadio, baby. And the Ottawa Senators strike first on a 2-on-1. A beautiful pass by Shane Pinto and a better finish by Ammo, baby, Michael Amadio. And your Ottawa Senators strike first. It's 1-0 Senators. After that, Linus Ullmark would be forced to make big save after big save after big save. And he's shutting up the naysayers like me. And you know what? I will happily be wrong as long as it means Linus Ullmark is stopping the puck and the Ottawa Senators are getting wins. As long as that's happening, I will eat my words gladly. And we'll talk about more about Ullmark in a second here. Holy cow. This is the Ullmark we're going to see for the rest of the year. Watch out, NHL. That is for sure. But he makes some big saves there after the Senators open the scoring. Anaheim almost scored there. They jam it into the post. Luckily, does not go in, so Ottawa remains up by a goal. Ullmark, again, standing on his head. And then moments after that, Shabbat Shalom, baby. It's 2-0 Senators. A great pass again by Shane Pinto to Tom Shabbat, just trailing in, left alone, and he rips it 5-hole there on Husso. for the Anaheim Ducks. Thank God we didn't have to play Dostal. He's so good. Husso was fantastic, though, for the Ducks today. I don't want to take anything away from him. He probably stopped 5 or 7 goals from going in at the very least. He was fantastic for them and gave the Ducks a chance to come back in the second half of the game, which they did. The Senators were the better team overall in this game, no doubt about that, but the Ducks, especially there in that third period of play, really put it on. So, again, Husso kept them in it, but thank goodness this one goes in. It's Chabot's second career shorthanded goal, by the way. Kind of crazy that Chabot Shalom only has 2 career shorthanded goals, considering how long he has been an Ottawa Senator, but we take it as Shane Pinto has 2 assists in that second period of play. A great feed to Tom Chabot, who does the rest, as Ottawa leads 2-0 after 40 minutes of play. So we go to the third period, and this is the first period of the entire game, the only period, frankly, where the Anaheim Ducks were going back and forth with Ottawa. And in terms of not just, shots, because in that first period it was relatively even, 11-5, I guess, but the Senators had a couple power plays, so that kind of makes it look a little more in their favor. But in that third period, the Ducks were really coming, man. Ullmark was forced to make some big saves. I mean, again, the Ottawa Senators deserved to win this game, and if they would have lost this game, that would have been a travesty. But that should not take anything away from Linus Ullmark, and the fact that he, I don't want to say stole the game for the Ottawa Senators, but without Linus Ullmark's performance, as we're going to talk about in a second here, the Ottawa Senators probably lose this game because of their lack of an ability to finish. We saw it, crush them in that loss to the Habs. It could have killed them today, but Ullmark saved the day, stopping some goals from going in. Speaking of stopping some goals from going in, holy cow, Tim Stützle with potentially the goal of the year. He did it so many times this year in terms of goals of the year. Tim Stützle, if you look at his highlights this year, there are so many. He can probably have his own top 10 SportsCenter highlight reel. But this goal here, literally flying in the air like Bobby Orr, backhanding it while not looking at the net and putting it bar in, that would have been probably the goal of his career, the goal of the year, and the goal for the Ottawa Senators in some years. Unfortunately, though, called off for goalie interference. And that Chabot goal, that one was reviewed. That one I thought probably wouldn't count. Not only was Stützle kind of interfering, Husso, I guess not. In retrospect, it wasn't called off, but he was, in that crease area. It looked like the Senators might have been offside as well. So that one I thought probably should have got called off more than the Stützle one. And I would take the Stützle goal over the Chabot goal. No offense to Chabot Shalom, but my goodness, that Stützle goal, if he would have scored that one, would have been talked about for generations. So that one is a little bit unfortunate. But all I will say is don't forget what they took away from us, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget what they robbed us from, because holy cow, Tim Stützle, every single game finding a new way to just surprise us. He is simply sensational, ladies and gentlemen. Holy cow, Timmy Stu. And it really is a shame that goal didn't count, because his 14-game point streak comes to an end today. That really sucks. That really, really does suck. Again, eventually it was going to come to an end. And don't forget that Tim Stützle has like 3 out of the 7 longest point streaks in Senator history already. He's only 24 years old, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely insane how many records, Tim Stützle is a part of already in the Senator franchise history. So many, many more point streaks to come, no doubt about that. But again, it would have been really nice for that goal to go in and for that point streak to continue. But you know what continues? A Sens win as they take down the Ducks. They finish it off as Linus Ullmark gets his second shutout of the season, arguably his best game of the season. I can't lie with you. He played lights out. This was his best game in weeks, and he's been a little better as of late. But, especially after a tough loss to the Habs with an .870 save percentage, which has unfortunately been the norm as of late. Before going into this game, the Senator goaltender has had only an above or sub .900 save percentage 5 out of his last 15 games. That's not good. And the Ottawa Senators still have been finding ways to win games. So if Linus Ullmark can play like this moving forward, the National Hockey League better watch out. Holy cow. Because Linus Ullmark today looked like the good old Linus Ullmark. Did he not? He was so good today. If you look at your screen right now, the advanced analytics says it all. Ullmark today alone stopped more than 4+ goals from going in. And I think there's more than that probably could have went in if it wasn't for Linus Ullmark. He was making 10 bell saves every single period, especially in the second half of the game where the Ducks were only at like 12 shots, and then they would push it and nearly double that output to end, the game. But the Ducks didn't have a lot of possession, but a lot of their chances came off the rush. They caught a lot of the Senator defenders a little bit caught off guard, especially on the half wall, and beat them to the net a few times. So Ullmark was really tested and stood tall, no doubt about that, stopping all 23 shots he faced as he helped the Ottawa Senators secure a massive 2 points to keep them just 3 points out of the final playoff spot. A lot of hockey to go. Your Ottawa Senators are knocking on that door, and if they win tomorrow, we could be looking at just 1 point out of that final playoff spot. And again, if Linus Ullmark continues to play like this, watch out, NHL. Watch out. Now, Jordan Spence today was fantastic. Just under 23 minutes of ice time. And again, he, as I already said in this video, has really, really stepped up ever since Jake Sanderson got hurt. He had 3 shots today, 2 scoring chances, 2 blocks as well. 5-on-5 expected goals for percentage at 67%. 5-on-5 scoring for percentage at 70%. He was so good offensively and defensively as well. 2 blocks. Stopped the goal from going in, as I already said there, on the Leo Carlsson chance on Linus Ullmark. A great job by him defensively. And overall, he just held his own. He looked so good and comfortable. And again, for a guy like Jordan Spence, who's primarily been the third pairing defenseman, roughly getting 12 minutes a night, to suddenly get nearly double that, like that, and it being no issue for him, this is a defenseman that the Ottawa Senators should not only lock up to an extension, but should do it quickly. Because the Ottawa Senators, their depth is always going to be tested. Injuries are always going to happen. And having a puck mover that can handle his own in the defensive zone like that, like a Jordan Spence, is so valuable. So I hope the Ottawa Senators keep this guy around because, again, he's showing his worth, especially in the last few games. And on that note, look, the Ottawa Senator blue line today was very good, only allowing 23 shots, which is roughly their average amount of shots they allow per game anyways, which is one of the best shot rates in the NHL, by the way. But the Ottawa Senators were not only allowing a limited amount of shots on net, they were blocking some of the shots as well. The Ottawa Senators today combined for 15 total shot blocks. It was unbelievable to see the amount of times the Ottawa Senator blue liners put their body on the line to help the Ottawa Senators win the game, and they certainly did that today. Holy cow. 15 total block shots. Every single defenseman with at least 2 block shots today. Thomas Chabot led the way with 4, and Dennis Gilbert with 3. Again, Gilbert had a pretty decent game, especially as a third-pairing defenseman there with Nicholas Manapolo. The blue line as a whole against a not easy, Anaheim Duck team, again, leading the Pacific Division, regardless of how competitive the division is. They are leading it, so they are a good team. The Ottawa Senators completely shut them down. Other than, again, a few rush opportunities, which good teams are going to get always. Now, the last thing I wanted to mention, as I mentioned earlier in this video, the Ottawa Senators got their first-round pick back, ladies and gentlemen. I kind of had a feeling that this was going to happen. I mentioned it before here on Sens Talk that, just like Kovalchuk and the Devils way back then, that the Ottawa Senators likely would get the first-round pick. It would be the last pick in the first round, and, it would not be tradable, and that's exactly what happened. And you know what? I saw some people complaining. Don't. This is a blessing. The Ottawa Senators could have had no picks in the first 3 rounds of this year's draft, and they get a massive draft pick back to help a real depleted prospect pool. So again, this is massive for the Ottawa Senators. Sure, they can't trade this pick, but they could trade next year's first-round pick. So that makes things really interesting going into the summer, especially since the Ottawa Senators, we saw them in on Robert Thomas, Mackenzie Weegar. They want a big fish. They want a big name to be added to this group, and now they can certainly do that with next year's first-rounder becoming much more expendable. So again, great to see that first-round pick back. And again, Stais is not the one with the botched trade. Andlauer wasn't the owner during the botched trade. It was ridiculous to begin with that the Senators got a worse fine and were penalized more than Chicago for some awful things that they covered up, right? So again, the fact the Hawks got away with that, with only a $2 million fine and then drafted first overall, and the Ottawa Senators will lose a first-round pick, it's kind of ridiculous, but hey, you know what? We'll take it. We'll take the first-round pick, and ultimately the Ottawa Senators get a massive opportunity to draft in the first round and add to that prospect pool. So let me just summarize real quick the amendment the NHL made in terms of this ruling because of the Dadanov botched trade. So firstly, the Ottawa Senators are still could be fined $1 million, which is, again, not nothing. I'm sure Andlauer isn't thrilled about that, but again, I'm sure he's just fine with it considering the fact they still got their first-round pick. And by the way, it has been reported that Andlauer behind the scenes and the Sens management as a whole has been really lobbying for this first-round pick back, so kudos to them for never giving up and winning that case. As I already said as well, it's automatically 32nd overall. So I guess that just means the Ottawa Senators are going to win the Cup, ladies and gentlemen, this year. And then on top of all that, cannot be dealt. So again, there are some restrictions on the pick itself. But again, it is a pick in the first round, and we will take it. So with that, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. As always, how are we feeling after a massive Sens win? I'll see you all tomorrow when Ottawa looks to make it back-to-back wins and 4 out of 4 points. And to be just 1 point out of the final wildcard spot. So with that, I'll see you all very soon. Go Sens, go.